Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my 12 Rules for Life series. We are now on Rule 3, which is make friends with the people who want the best for you. In this video, I'll be summarizing Peterson's key points and just giving my thoughts on them. And I don't know if you could tell, but I had a wisdom tooth surgery like 4 or 5 days ago. If you look here and then look here. So that's what the puffing is. Anyway, Peterson's key argument in this chapter is not everyone actually needs to be saved. People tend to take the path of least resistance. Don't let your kindness feed your ego, and hanging around the wrong people will drag you down. This was one of the tougher rules for me to read because it exposed me. It exposed me to different perspectives and to the idea that I might be wrong, and that was scared to think about, but I think that made it all the more important I actually did read this. It was pretty shocking to think that some people don't actually need help. They're just complaining because it gives them an excuse. That certainly isn't a very nice thing to say, but Peterson just came in and said it how it is. Like, I'd never heard that before because it just seems rude to say, but it's kind of true. Like, is it really so unreasonable to assume that people are making themselves miserable? That, whether they're conscious of it or not, they are actively doing things that are hurting their life yet choose to ignore. And I certainly don't want to go acting all high and mighty, acting like I'm exempt from this. There are certainly times where bad things will happen to me, and I know damn well I could have done something about it. I could have done something differently. I could have not done something. But what do? I go and I blame an external factor. The most prominent example, I guess I could think of this, at some point in my life, there was a science teacher I had who people were not very fond of. And I kind of, just started thinking that too. And one time I took a test and I think I barely scraped 60%. I got a D minus. I was hoping to do a lot better. And what did I do? I blamed her. I said the class was unfair. We don't learn anything in this class. The questions were stupid. They were unfair. We didn't have enough time to prepare. I kept saying all this stuff just to make myself feel better, really. In hindsight, though, was I really doing everything I could have possibly done to do good on that test? Absolutely not. I was probably only paying attention in class 80% of the time. I was kind of half-assing the homework. I wasn't really trying to understand the content. I was just trying to get it done. Now, of course, there are times when people are suffering not because they're making themselves miserable, but because an external factor is genuinely making them miserable. I don't want people to think Peterson is saying, or I guess rather, my interpretation of what Peterson is saying is that, everything is your fault. What I do think he's saying, and what I generally agree with, is more often than you'd like to think, there's probably something you could have done better. While I was reading this rule, I found myself questioning my own friendships. I started asking myself if the people I choose to surround myself with are actually good for me, or if I'm just choosing to stay friends with them out of loyalty, or maybe even worse, I'm choosing to stay friends with them so I can make myself appear better. And those were scary thoughts because it meant three things. One, I could have been staggering my own development. Two, I could have been lying to myself. And three, I could be an egotistical asshole. It was certainly uncomfortable to think about, but I kind of came to the conclusion that if I have a fair, justifiable reason to think that someone is holding me back, then I'm okay with saying, I'm just not going to associate with you anymore. A few years ago, I probably wouldn't have ever said this. I would have said something like, I need to be friends with everyone, or I need to just change the people around me. While I certainly want to be kind to everyone around me, I don't want to be, just a mean, bad person. I don't view it as my responsibility anymore to change other people. And here's what I mean by that. I want to help other people, but if in doing that, you start to drag me down with you, then I'm going to have to cut the cord. Of course, within reason, I'm not just going to have, one minor inconvenience and then just say, okay, that's it, you're gone. But I'm not going to sacrifice myself for you. I agree with Peterson. I don't think it's greedy to say I want to associate with the people who want the best for me. Isn't that what we all want? I'm not sure the exact quote, but in the coda, Peterson says something like, The best way to help the broken man is to lead by example without letting him pull you down. He's not saying, and I'm certainly not saying, just leave everyone in the dust who isn't perfect, because no one is perfect. Everyone has low points. He even goes on in Rule 12 to say we should love people because of their flaws, but that's for a video much later. Overall, though, I'd say I want friends who I feel comfortable being myself around and speaking my mind to, but are willing to tell me when they think I'm wrong or if they have a different perspective. I want friends who have my back but won't let me get complacent. I want friends, not followers. Have a good day, you guys.